We have been playing a lot of Helldivers on PlayStation lately, and that got us thinking once again, what were the best first-person shooters games on the original PlayStation? For us, the golden age of the PlayStation was from 1997 to around 2001. PC gaming was expensive, while the PlayStation was accessible. You could simply buy a game, put the disc in, and play. No worrying about performance, drivers, or software issues. It just worked. Yes, first-person shooters were clearly superior on PC. Researching this list brought back a lot of memories, and a few surprises along the way. For example, many people forget that the DualShock controller wasn't even available at the PlayStation launch, so compared to modern FPS games on console, the controllers back then was not good at all in some cases. Luckily, many of the games we played to make this video still holds up even today in their own special way. And as always, this list is 100% subjective. If you disagree, or if you have a better list of your own, let us know in the comments. We're always up for a good discussion. Number 5.
I've got good news and bad news for you, Lieutenant. The good news is that your security clearance has been elevated. The bad news is that we're sending you to Norway in the middle of winter.
When Medal of Honor launched in 1999, it felt like something entirely new had hit the console. The game felt like PC-style gaming on the PlayStation, an FPS grounded in real historical events from World War II. The game places you in the role of an Allied operative, carrying out covert missions behind enemy lines. Instead of fast, arcade-style action, Medal of Honor focuses on tension, positioning, and atmosphere, making every encounter feel deliberate and dangerous. It even featured a full orchestral soundtrack, composed by Michael Giacchino, which added a cinematic weight rarely heard in games at the time. And what we didn't know back then was that Steven Spielberg himself was involved in the production. So, does it hold up today? Nope. The controls feel rough, the graphics can be painfully dated, and there are moments where we got stuck. But the ambition, the atmosphere, attention to details, and the complete package still make it worth experiencing, even after all these years. This is why Medal of Honor is number 5 in this video. Number 4. Released in 1996, Disruptor was an ambitious first-person shooter for its time, and we have a clear weakness for sci-fi shooters, especially ones with full-motion video sequences. The game drops you into a dark sci-fi conflict where humanity is under threat from hostile alien forces, and survival depends on heavy firepower and careful movement. What really made Disruptor stand out was its scale and atmosphere. The levels were large and maze-like, enemies were aggressive, and the overall tone leaned heavily into a dark, industrial sci-fi style. It also featured a surprisingly large arsenal of weapons, giving it a more PC-like shooter feel than most console games of that era. Today, the controls and pacing can feel rough, but Disruptor remains an important milestone. It proved that full 3D first-person shooters could work on the PlayStation, and it helped lay the groundwork for a studio that would later create Ratchet & Clank and Spider-Man. There isn't much more to say about Disruptor, except this. It's a great example of how console FPS gaming found its footing. And even if the gameplay doesn't fully click for you, the FMV sequences alone are worth experiencing. That's why this is number 4 on this list.
I feel like hell. They say the first one hurts the worst.
Number 3. Released in 1997, lifeforce tenka is one of the strangest and most unusual first-person shooters on the original PlayStation. The game drops you into a dark sci-fi future where humanity is under attack by a mysterious alien force known as the tenka. Instead of fast arcade-style action, lifeforce tenka focuses on slow, deliberate combat, large maze-like levels, and a heavy, oppressive atmosphere. In a strange way, it even reminds us of the corridor-style level design from the very first Halo game. What really sets lifeforce tenka apart is its visual style. The enemies are grotesque and surreal, the environments feel alien and hostile, and the soundtrack leans heavily into industrial and ambient tones, creating a constant sense of unease. Technically, it pushed the PlayStation hard with fully 3D levels at a time when many shooters relied on visual tricks and shortcuts. While the controls and pacing divided players, lifeforce tenka has become a cult classic, at least for us, remembered more for its mood and ambition than for pure gameplay. It's a weird game that deserves more attention, and that's exactly why we've placed it at number 3 on our list. Number 2. As young teenagers, Duke Nukem was the boss. The PlayStation version launched in 1997 and brought Duke's loud, arrogant, one-liner-filled attitude straight to consoles. For many, it was considered one of the weaker ports of the original PC game. But to our teenage minds, that simply didn't matter. From what we remember, it felt almost like the same game. The music was remixed, the atmosphere was darker, and it even featured extra content exclusive to the PlayStation version, and most important, we had a lot of fun replaying this for this video. Gameplay-wise, it's still fast and aggressive, with a strong lineup of weapons and interactive environments, though performance and controls could be uneven at times. Still, Duke Nukem proves that pure personality and unapologetic attitude could carry an FPS on console in the late 90s. It may not be the most refined shooter on the first PlayStation, but it is easily one of the most memorable. And that's why it takes our number 2 spot on this list. Number 1. This one is a bit of a cheat, but we simply couldn't decide. Doom and Quake 2 are legendary games that work well on console, even though they are clearly superior on PC. It's the complete package. The sound, the visuals, the gameplay, and even the controversy around their violence in mainstream media made these games absolute must-haves for us as young teenagers. Doom on the PlayStation was released in 1995, and it was not a direct port of the PC version. Instead, the game was reworked specifically for the console, and in doing so, it became something unique, at least in our opinion. Levels from Doom and Doom 2 were combined and rearranged, enemy counts were reduced, and the pacing was slowed slightly to better suit controller-based gameplay. What truly set the PlayStation version apart was its sound design. The original soundtrack was replaced with dark ambient music. This is actually the one thing we didn't like. The original soundtrack fits Doom better. Quake 2 is, in our view, one of the strongest examples of a PC-first shooter successfully adapted to the original PlayStation. Released in 1999, the PS1 version brought ID Software's gritty sci-fi war against the Strogg to consoles. While clearly scaled back from the PC original, it retained the core of what made Quake 2 great: fast gunplay, aggressive enemies, and a heavy industrial sci-fi atmosphere. Quake 2 on PlayStation proved that hardcore first-person shooters could survive the jump from PC to console, and do so with their identity intact. And the same can absolutely be said for Doom on the PlayStation. This is why these games are number 1 on this list. The challenge with making a list like this is simple. There are many more games we should have played or talked about. But there's no doubt that first-person shooters were a real option on the original PlayStation, especially if you didn't have access to a PC. Which games did we miss? Any hidden gems out there? Let us know in the comments if this list made sense to you. We hope you enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks for watching.